This podcast is brought to you by the National Animal Nutrition Program, sponsored by USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Avery, and thanks for tuning in. Today, we're diving into a topic that's incredibly important for modern livestock and poultry producers. We're going to be talking about feed management, specifically the USDA's Conservation Practice Standard 592, and I'm joined by my colleague, Zaya. How are you doing, Zaya?
I'm doing great, Avery. Happy to be here. This is a big topic, and I think it's one that can seem a little intimidating at first with all the codes and standards. But it's really about efficiency and common sense. The NRCS Conservation Practice Standards are completely voluntary, but provide useful strategies to improve operations from a resource conservation standpoint.
That's a great way to put it. So let's start at the very beginning. For a producer who's maybe heard the term but isn't quite sure what it means, what exactly is feed management, or CPS 592?
Of course. So, according to the official NRCS document, feed management is defined as, and I'm quoting here, manipulating and controlling the quantity and quality of available nutrients, feedstuffs, ingredients, or additives fed to livestock and poultry.
Okay, so let's break that down. In simpler terms, it's about being really deliberate and precise with what you're feeding your animals. It's moving beyond just filling the trough and really targeting what that specific animal needs to be healthy and productive without overdoing it.
Exactly. Think of it like being a dietitian for your herd or flock. You're ensuring they get all the good stuff they need in the right amounts while minimizing the excess that ends up as waste in the manure.
Right, that makes perfect sense. So this brings us to the big question. Why should a busy producer who's already juggling 100 things make this a priority? What's the real benefit here?
That really is the crucial question. The USDA document lays out a few key purposes for this practice, and they're all interconnected. First, there are the environmental benefits. It's about water quality. When you overfeed certain nutrients, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, they pass through the animal and end up concentrated in the manure. When that manure is spread on fields or if there's runoff from the operation, those excess nutrients can get into streams, rivers, and groundwater, which can cause some serious problems.
Yeah, things like algal blooms.
Exactly. And it's not just water, it's also about air quality. Better feed management can reduce emissions of ammonia, odors, and even greenhouse gases from animal feeding operations. So it's good for your relationship with your neighbors, too.
Okay, so we've got stewardship, environmental protection, being a good neighbor. Those are all incredibly important, but I see something in the document here that I know will catch every producer's eye: improving net farm income.
That's the third, and for many, the most compelling piece of the puzzle. Feed is the single largest expense for most livestock operations.
Without a doubt.
So if you're feeding more efficiently, you're reducing waste. Every pound of protein or phosphorus that ends up in the manure instead of as milk or meat it's money wasted. By precisely matching the diet to the animal's needs, you improve your feed conversion efficiency. You get more production out of every dollar you spend on feed.
So it's a true win-win. You're reducing your environmental footprint and you're improving your bottom line at the same time. Let's talk about the how. How does a producer start implementing something like this? What are the practical, on-the-ground steps?
Well, the first step, and the document is very clear on this, is that you don't have to do it alone. It emphasizes using professional animal scientists or independent nutritionists.
Right, so team up with an expert.
Yes, they can help you with the next crucial step, which is feed analysis. You can't manage what you don't measure. You need to conduct laboratory analysis on your feed ingredients to know their actual nutrient content.
And that's so important. The protein in your hay can vary wildly from one cutting to the next, or your silage from this year to last. You can't just rely on book values.
That's the core of it. Once you know what's in your feed, you and your nutritionist can formulate diets to provide the exact nutrients required by the animal. And this leads to another key strategy mentioned in the standard: grouping.
So you're not just feeding the entire herd the same ration.
Correct. The document talks about group feeding based on physiological or production status. Think about a dairy operation. A high-producing cow in early lactation has vastly different nutritional needs than a dry cow. Grouping them and feeding them different diets makes a huge difference in efficiency.
That makes total sense. You're targeting the nutrients where they're needed most. What are some other practical adjustments producers can make?
Well, there are quite a few. For instance, the standard mentions reducing or eliminating phosphorus supplements when phosphorus is already being overfed. A lot of times, forages and grains have enough phosphorus on their own. It also talks about using highly digestible feeds and forages, so the animal can absorb more of the nutrients from what it eats.
So it's a combination of big picture strategy, like working with a nutritionist, and specific tactical changes in the ration. All of this comes together in a formal feed management plan, right?
Yes, the goal is to have a written plan that outlines these specific practices for your operation. It includes your feed analyses, your ration formulations, protocols for sampling feed, and how you'll monitor the results. It's a living document.
And I imagine having that plan is crucial for another reason. Many of the USDA NRCS programs that offer financial assistance or cost sharing for conservation practices require you to have a plan like this in place.
That's a fantastic point, Avery. Adopting these practices might involve some upfront costs, like for more frequent feed testing or consulting fees. But financial assistance is often available through programs like EQIP, the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, so producers should definitely contact their local NRCS service center to see what support they can get.
Excellent. So let's bring it all together. What's the final take-home message for our listeners today?
I think the main takeaway is that feed management under CPS 592 is a completely voluntary but powerful business strategy. It's about precision, efficiency, and sustainability. By focusing on what your animals truly need, you reduce waste, protect the environment, and directly improve your farm's profitability.
Well said, Zia. It's all about making every single bite count. A big thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
My pleasure, Avery.
This podcast was generated by Wondercraft and moderated by NANP.